All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode, and allow me to introduce my guest today, Swaggy. What's going on, man?
My man, appreciate you for having me, man.
This feels like a long time coming, no?
Yeah. We've been trying to do this for the last 6 months now.
It's been a minute.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But how you doing otherwise, though? Everything good?
Yeah, man. I'm good. This is probably like my first podcast in probably the last maybe 12 months, 13 months. So allow me to get acclimated back into the swing of things. But no, I'm good, man. I'm chilling. I'm in Puerto Rico. Bags upstairs, two dogs upstairs. We just chilling right now, man.
Well, one thing you forgot to include is this is your first podcast as a fully announced soon-to-be dad.
Good thing you said soon to be. A lot of people are saying you got to celebrate Father's Day. I'm like, is no baby here yet? I don't know. I don't know how this thing works. So,
It's
but
supposed to get here before Father's Day, though?
no. After. But people are still telling me to celebrate Father's Day. I'm like, I don't have a physical child just yet. But I don't know how it works, man.
Yeah, congrats first off. Has it set in yet, or are you still kind of leaning into the whole process?
Yeah, it's set in now. We do in a few weeks. Whereas the first few months, it didn't settle in. It still didn't feel like super real. Felt like my life was still going to be like the same. It just felt like there was just something in Bailey's stomach. And after the gender reveal, it felt more real, and then the baby shower felt super real. And now we're at a point where it's like, okay, going to be here in a few weeks, and so now all these emotions are like actually hitting me now. So now I'm like more clingier to Bay because she has a baby now. Now I'm like really anticipating, the baby being here, and the closet is getting real. So now it's like, wow, okay, I'm really gonna be a father. So
Yeah. And one thing I did notice when you made that post, you talked about kind of keeping it in the dark for a while. What was maybe the catalyst for that?
yeah, so the first time Bayleigh and I got pregnant, we had a miscarriage, and that was kind of broadcasted all over social media because rumors went crazy because people kind of knew that Bayleigh was pregnant on Big Brother, but we just confirmed it because the rumors were so crazy. We was getting asked like we just got like engaged, and then like in the interview, instead of talking about the engagement, like they're talking about the rumors, and it's just like okay, let's just talk about it to the people, and we got so much flashback. You know what I mean? Like half people were like, "Oh, we're sorry." Other half were just like, "I'm glad that baby died, and y'all don't deserve it." You know what I mean? So like, we were just like, "All right, this time we're not going to tell nobody." Like aside from our close family, nobody knew, at all.
I respect that a lot because I actually talk about this on here a lot too. It's like a sad reality, but at the end of the day, there are like a large chunk of people like on social media that just don't enjoy seeing like others happy, if that makes sense. And I think like it's a sad reality, and it's like kind of like a harsh thing to hear like off first glance or just hearing that, but it's honestly the sad truth when it comes to social media, and especially like when you're dealing with people in front of the public eye.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens because I don't care like what beef you have with somebody or what feelings. If they're having a baby, they just got engaged, they just won the challenge, they just won Big Brother, just did something monumental in their life. No matter what you post about it, there's going to be at least 10 to, especially if you are like, somebody who has a following, there's going to be at least 50 people in the comments, trying to bash you or kill you or tear you down for that accomplishment. And it's just confusing.
Do you notice that you get like any hate these days, or is it kind of slowed down more since you haven't been on reality TV? Where is
Oh,
it?
yeah, it is slowed down tremendously because I quit TV about 2 years ago, and I've been focusing on being an entrepreneur and the businesses that I run right now. So now the hate I get or the drama I get is like other businessmen in my industry and who has a better product and better services. You know what I mean? It's not the same reality hate, but I still get that from time to time. But as far as like reality TV, I don't see it. I don't check it. I don't. I think I've unfollowed every single fan, even the fans who supported me, which I never formally apologized for, but I do apologize for because I just didn't want to get on my Twitter or Instagram and just see anything related to reality TV or people. You know what I mean? Even though they supported me, so I just wanted to get away from that.
Right. There's like a certain digital footprint like that follows you, I feel like, when you do like reality television, but I feel like someone in your case, right? There's certain people that in the entertainment industry, once they break away and do other things separate from reality TV, some are fortunate enough that they are able to like kind of leave that in the past because they've done so much that like their digital footprint almost like, for example, like The Miz, like he's in WWE now, he's an example. And I feel like you're also someone that falls under that category with like what you've been able to do outside of reality TV, like with your businesses and stuff. Is it like maybe intentional that you want to like kind of have that footprint, almost like not a race, but kind of when people see you and notice you, the first thing they notice you from is, oh, that's the guy from Swag Academy, or this is the day trader, not this is the guy from Big Brother or the Challenge.
Yeah, yeah, that was most definitely, purposeful. And what's crazy is I've actually like successfully done that. Like a lot of people who meet me are like, "Oh, you're like, can I get a picture with you?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." And they're like, "Yo, have inspired me on YouTube and being an entrepreneur." That makes me happy as opposed to I saw you on Big Brother, you were kind of crazy. Like that's what I got the first 2 years, and now afterwards, for the last since 2020, I rarely like if I meet 100 people who randomly see me, doesn't matter where it is, probably 85 of them, maybe 82 of them are going to say they know me from trading or being an entrepreneur. I still get about 15 to 18 from Big Brother. And the thing with the Miz, what people don't know is once he left the challenge and stuff, for the first 4 or 5 years, he was, battling through Tough Enough and he was being a tag team partner. It wasn't really in the scene with WWE like that. It wasn't until about 6 or 7 or 8 years after that to where he left the challenge to where he main evented WrestleMania against Cena and like then he became like an actual household name, married Maurice, and had his own reality show. So even though I've kind of broken away a little bit, give me about 6 or 7 more years. I feel like it'll be for sure. Now, long story short, having said that, I am not like embarrassed or ashamed of reality TV. That's not why I'm trying to break away. I'm trying to break away because of the fans and how toxic they are and the drama with the people. The actual like competition show, no, I don't got a problem with that. It's the people, if that makes sense.
I'm 100% with you on that. When you talked about like the business people now is kind of like where more of the hate's coming from. I feel like if you were to choose which is the lesser of the two evils as far as reality TV fans and then like business people, most definitely business people. Reality
Most
are a
definitely.
different animal.
Yeah, bro, they are a different animal, and they will. I will never forget like the drama or the fights that would come from it. And it's just like, but then after the drama and the fights, it's just like they would text us separate, like, "Yo, I'm just doing this just to get back on the next season. Let's just keep this going." Like, there's so many people who would do that. I'm just like, I just don't understand it. Whereas business, people are making fun of me because they're like, "Oh, you made this much money, I made this much." And that's the drama. It's fake drama. It's not real. You know what I mean? So I'll deal with that any day of the week.
Did you ever get like affected emotionally or like mentally from maybe your experience with like the fans, or were you able to like tune that out?
Two experiences that changed my perspective on reality. The second one was the end all be all. The first one was the Kevin situation, the basketball game that happened. That was a complete miscommunication, but that was the first time that people tried to cancel me and people tried to kill me. And I felt like a lot of people turned their backs on me because of the situation. It wasn't until 6 months later when we came out with the documentary and the receipts and everything that I started getting apologies, even from friends who turned their back on me, started texting me saying, "Yo, I'm sorry. I just wasn't for it." But at that point, I was like, okay, I can't do this too much longer. But the one scenario that really told me I will never do reality, and you can ask, I'm gonna name some names. You can ask these people specifically, and they will tell you. Swaggy said this. We were on the challenge. We had that trivia question on Total Madness, and we were hanging above like the rocket ships, basically. And we were so high in the air, like 40 feet in the air, and they would just obviously drop us in if you got the question right. If you got it wrong, if somebody picked you, I forgot how it went, whatever. But me, I couldn't swim. So being that high in the air and then just plunging, I did not want to do that. But since it happened, it is what it is. So I was getting the questions right, was going through it. And then Rogan got two questions right. It was like, who's the fastest animal in the jungle? A cheetah, a bear, or a lion? He said cheetah. And then he gave me a point. Then he gave me another point, which sunk me into the water. The issue with that was since I couldn't swim, they had like a little lifeguard person who's just there. I had a life jacket on, but they had somebody there watching. And I'm over there just like fighting like to breathe. Even though like I have a life jacket on, I'm still, even though I'm panicking, I don't know like what I'm really doing. And the guy is just over there in his boat. He's like, come over here, come over here. So what people don't know about that episode is that if you go back and watch the episode, they edit to the minute I dropped, they went right to the next question. I was in that water trying to get out, struggling for about maybe 7 to 8 minutes. Everybody is laughing. All the girls is laughing. And it wasn't until even like the security people are laughing. It wasn't until Kyle got dropped next. The minute he dropped, he came over to me, grabbed my hand, and pulled me out of the water. And the minute I got outside of the water in the competition, I went to everybody and said, I went to Corey, I went to Josh, I went to Nelson, Fessy. All of them were just like, yeah, this is fun. We're going to do this again. I literally told them, you will never see me on the show again. They said, why? I said, what Like that just happened. Like you guys will never, even Anissa, you guys will never, ever see my foot on this show ever again because of that. Because that when even everybody thought it was funny, I'm in that water for 8 minutes. I don't know how to swim. People are not. All right, remember that, Kyle. I appreciate you. Everybody else, I won't forget that. So that was the one moment that said I will never do this again.
So that was more about like your, basically peers than it was like a fan thing.
Yeah, the fan thing was the Kevin thing, and then the peers was the second. So I was like, okay, you combine both of that. Okay, it's a lose lose either way. So I'm just never going to do this again. But yeah, the fan was the Kevin situation. Peers was the second one.
Have you kind of held that total madness thing as like not like a chip on your shoulder, but like kind of kept it in the dark for a bit?
When you say kept in the dark, what do you mean?
Like kind of in the back of your mind, like you won't talk about it, but like you have like a mental note of it.
Both. I will talk about it any day of the week because of I guess where I am in life. I guess it's called like giving me peace to where it's like I can talk about these things. But it definitely gave me a chip on my shoulder. I won't forget that. I won't forget a week. I think a few days before that, Josh threw a drink on me and then hit my
Yeah.
security, and the security would not let me get to him, and then yelling at me and cursing me out. I won't forget all these people want these. I won't forget any of that. That was the biggest chip on my shoulder. And then after I got the show, like that 2020, once it aired, and I completely quit and started focusing on my business, made a few million. That's when I felt. After I made that, I was like, all right, I don't need the chip on my shoulder anymore. I'm in a completely different space. That's why right now I'm in a different space. I don't hold any grudges. I'm cool. I'm happy. It's been 2 years since I started this business venture, so I'm completely happy. So I can talk about it now. But in 2020, oh, I completely held. That's why if you go back and look at my captions in 2020 or the things that I was saying, right now I'm actually kind of embarrassed at some of the things I was saying. I was reckless back then. I really
I,
wanted to
yeah.
prove people wrong, but it was stupid. It was stupid.
People seemed like you had like almost like this like built up like frustration with your time on the show, but nobody like I guess knew like where it stemmed from. So I guess this is maybe providing more clarity to that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have no problem ever talking about it. But just like I said in the beginning, this is my first podcast in a long time, and I don't know. I will answer any question in the world. But yeah, 2020, I was really kind of crazy. But now I'm good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm glad to hear that. You brought up the obviously Josh drink situation. I think this is a good segue because I don't know if you heard through the grapevine. Him and Fessy had a little bit of an altercation on the most recent season, and it drew back a lot of fans.
Really?
Yeah, it drew back a lot of fans to bring up that scene with you and him because on this most recent season, Fessy actually got kicked off for mushing Josh in the face. But
He got
Josh
kicked off for promotion, Josh.
Yeah, but Josh was the one that kind of provoked him first. So that drew a lot of fans to bring back that moment of him throwing the drink in your face and wondering why he didn't face any repercussions for that. Do you feel like there's a certain level of like maybe protection going on with certain people as opposed to others?
Yeah, I think not. I think I
Or
know that
favoritism
happens.
for that matter.
Say it again.
Or favoritism for that matter, for lack of.
Yeah, I know that to be a fact. I know who the producers protect, but I also know that like when that situation just happened, all the producers pulled me into the back. Was like, you guys, you gotta like, it's just Josh. That he like, it's just a drink. Like Josh is Josh. He has like, I'm not saying he has like mental issues. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to bash Josh. What I'm saying is that there's people. They pulled me to the back. It was like, Josh has things going on mentally where he'll snap, but then the next day he'll cry and say, I'm sorry. Like, so just take this as that. And for me, I was just so upset. But hearing that doesn't surprise me. I just wish that, because that I'm pretty sure that happened. Now what you're saying, I just wish Josh would stop. I don't think Fessy's wrong for much him, because if I would have got close to him, I'd probably done the same thing. I guess got kicked off. I just think Josh should just be more aware that like throwing a drink is like the absolute most disrespectful thing you can do. And I don't even know if him and Fessy are probably still friends. I haven't talked to Josh to this day since then. You know what I mean? Because we never really hashed it out. You know what I mean? Like in New York with my friends growing up, we if something would have happened, we would fight and then shake hands and be like, oh, we cool. We got it out. There's nothing to talk about. And with me and Josh, there was just nothing.
Right, like it's like, and this isn't me coming at him as like a man or like a person, but it's just it doesn't really sit right with me like ethically that like someone could have a continued pattern of like provoking others and then have it being chalked up to like, oh, he'll just he's just drank a little bit or he's having an episode. But if like someone else who has no history of this behavior at all has one slip up when he's provoked first and then he's just immediately kicked off, That just doesn't really sit right in my soul.
Yeah, it's annoying, but that's more of a producer thing. You know, like at that point, it's hard to blame. It's like Draymond Green with the referees. You know, realistically, it's like if he knows he's done it twice and he's never gotten kicked off, like a little talking to in a corner is nothing. He's still going to get paid the exact same amount. He's just like, I'm just gonna keep throwing drinks. This is gonna get ratings. I'm just gonna bring me back. Boom. It's not gonna happen until the producer's like, hey, like you cannot. We're gonna take this as assault. We're gonna take this as like you putting your hands on somebody and you're gonna get kicked off. Then he'll stop doing that. You know what I mean? I don't think if Josh is allowed to do that, I think I'm allowed to touch him. I think Fess is allowed to mush him, and then we live with it. Because if I would have mushed Josh, it's not like we would have hated each other the whole season. He threw a drink on me. I hit him. We talk about it a few days later. It's over. Like people don't understand how easy it is to get over something. But when somebody's allowed to do something to you, and then I'm reprimanded by getting thrown in the corner, so I'm going to get kicked off, boom, 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 then it's like, all right, there's an issue.
So they told you that you would have gotten, kicked off.
Yeah, like because if you go back to watch the scene after he threw the drink on me, I tried to run at him, but they corralled me and threw me into the corner, and they put us in like a little separate room for like an hour and told us that like if you touch them, you're getting kicked off. All the money the money that you're supposed to be guaranteed, you're not going to get. We're going to took us to Popeyes, I believe. Afterwards, they took us in a separate car and they took us back home, back to the bunker. And when we got to the bunker, they said if you touch them, I don't care what happens. I don't care if it provokes you. You're getting kicked off, and the money that you're going to get guaranteed is not going to be given to you. And the issue with me was it's not like right now where like all this money I'm making right now. Like if this was right now, I still would have. I would be like, okay, and then I went and hit him. You
Yeah.
know, wouldn't have cared. But at the time, me and Bayleigh wasn't making money like that. We were just a regular reality TV couple. So that money that was from the challenge, we needed that money. So it was like, I'm not gonna risk my family. Me and Babe just moved to LA and risk, some of this guaranteed money to fight. I'm gonna talk it out. If I get eliminated, I get eliminated. If I win, I win. It is what it is. But I'm gonna give myself a chance. So that was kind of the mindset. But they did tell me that I would get kicked off if I even did anything. Even if I got something and threw it at him and hit him, I would have got kicked off.
So you think maybe had you so like say the roles are reversed, right? Like you threw the drink and maybe he was coming after you. Do you feel like you maybe would have been kind of axed and that wouldn't have applied for him, obviously, as we saw?
Yeah, I think if I threw the drink, I would have gotten kicked off because they still had Bayleigh and it was my first season. I've showed even though like every season since Total Madness they've asked me and Bayleigh beat on declined every single one. It's that was my first season, so we haven't showed them anything on at that point like why they should keep us. You know what I mean? Like whereas Josh has been continued seasons. Josh is good entertainment. Josh is good to watch on TV. You either love him or you hate him, but he's like polarizing. You know what I mean? Which is a great thing. For the producers, but for me in my first season, I wasn't the swaggy that I was on Big Brother, and everybody knew that. On Big Brother, I was crazy. I was reckless. If Big Brother did an all-star season and wanted to bring people back, I'm talking about like if they continued like the challenge, I would have clearly got called back. The challenge, on the other hand, I was like, okay, this is my first time being on TV since Big Brother. First time I acted crazy, I got kicked off second. I'm gonna be very, very quiet. To the producers, they didn't like that because they casted Swaggy. They got Chris, and they didn't like that. So if I would have threw the drink on him, I for sure probably would have gotten axed.
Wow. I mean, that's a sad reality, but I mean, it's honestly, in my opinion, I would probably say the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
So they would still, call you guys, right? Like as far as like, you obviously announced your retirement, but they've, kind of still tried to reel you back in.
They don't care, man. They will email us or WhatsApp or whatever maybe and say, hey, this is such and such from Murray or the challenge. We want to see it. What's your availability for between these dates? We're doing the challenge 36, or we're doing the challenge 37. We're doing 38. Over, I don't think they'd ever set a place, but they said we're doing 38. Um, it's going to be cold. It's going to be hot. Boom, boom, boom. Would you be interested? Do you want to come? We'd love to. Boom, boom, boom. And we just say we wouldn't be dry. Like I would tell them flat out, like, no, unfortunately, I have a lot of things going on. I would have this thing going on, this thing going on, and I would lose like a lot of like money if I were to come on the show, even if I would win, And every single they don't care. They don't take that as okay. Let's take them off the list. They're like, okay, we'll hit you back up in 8 months from now. And it's like I keep trying.
Hey man, it's a persistent tactic. They might catch you one of these days.
They might catch me. One of these days I might be like, I was talking to Jordan Wisely. We was talking one time, and we was saying that like the competition, right now, Jordan said he's in a good spot to where he can just go, and the money is great. Any type of money you win is great, but like I'm going for to show that I can still do it competition wise. For me, when he was explaining to me, I was just like, you know what? Like you do make a good point where it's like it's just fun to go for the competition and just do all these things. Like, why don't you just try it one time? So in my mind, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should one time, but I still to this day probably would never go back.
Yeah.
But if I were to go back, it wouldn't be a money incentive. It'd be like can I still perform the way I used to perform?
Right. It's like a natural athlete's instinctive nature to kind of, want to see like what you're still capable of doing, and like, you're always gonna have that like kind of itch within you. It never really goes away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no matter what, it doesn't go away. Even me watching the All Stars with Bayleigh, and I was because for me, I think me and a few others, like I never really got the Big Brother experience. Big Brother was my favorite show growing up. I never knew what a real world or a challenge was. Big Brother was a show I used to watch growing up with my dad. But when I got on, I got evicted the second week. I was upset because I never got that experience. And people, even though luckily, like I'm in a lot of people would trade being on TV to be where I'm at right now. The little kid in me still wants to have a full 6-7 weeks in Big Brother and see what it's like to be in jury or see what it's like to, double eviction. But I guess I just never see it.
hmm Yeah, everybody's the rumors floating around right now that the one they're filming right now, the theme is ride or die. So it's like people that are, opposite sex and then like very tight or like paired together, and everybody was like, "Oh, if it's ever a time for Swaggy and Bayleigh to come on."
Yeah, if that's the theme of the season, I guess it would be a time for me and Bay to come back. I just don't know, man. We are so far removed from like, and when I say removed, I have not watched a single episode. I don't know what the only person I follow is Gamer Vev. So occasionally I'll see something, but Gamer Vev tweets so much that it's hard to really keep up what's going on. She's the homie. But other than that, I haven't. So when you said the Josh and Fessy thing, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what happened the next like who won the next season. I don't know like any of that. Like I don't know who won the season after that. I know who won the most recent All Stars because I'm close with them, but I don't know like anything else. About what I mean?
Yeah. No, that is a good point though. Like I think people kind of sometimes have a hard time like leaving the game or like leaving the show, whereas like, you've done a very good job of kind of differentiating like reality from reality show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me it's like so. Here's the thing. I want to preface this by saying like money is everything, but it's not everything. When I say it's everything, I mean when we come on these shows and all how many people are on the challenge? 32, 30, 25,
32.
30 something, again, something like that. We're all going we're all trying to make some money, right? But then when you're on the show and you hear that Bananas gets 6 figures guaranteed, he can leave on day one 6 figures. Oh, CT just lost to Jay in the fifth day, he already got 6 figures, and Wes the same thing. And then I'm over here with like a 2 week guarantee, and these people are on 2 week guarantees and 3 week guarantee. Tori Deal is we had the Fast and Furious challenge. Tori Deal comes to me and she's like, "Yeah, I'm on the same guarantee as you. She's been on for 3, 4. Why is she on the same guarantee as me? She has this romance with her and Jordan. They're clearly killing it. Why is she not getting paid more? I don't understand. So when I'm doing this in my mind, I'm like, okay, Tori makes the show. She's not getting paid. And when I say a lot maybe to like the
Like a
fans,
catch.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's I guess you know what I mean. It's a perspective thing. But for me, it's like at the point, it's like it's not even now. I'm talking about then. Like you're getting paid the same as me, whereas these 3 or 4 people have been on for a long. They're getting 6 figures. Looking at this person, looking at even D. I'm looking at all these people like just not getting paid. I'm just like, no, we make the show at the end of the day. Like it's not like the show makes $2 million and then they're allocating that to us. The show makes millions of dollars and they probably got a budget of like five or take away the grand prize like 500K, maybe I don't know, maybe 400K for all the contestants, then a 500K or $1 million grand prize, and then everything after that, take over the expenses for being in Poland or being in Czech Republic. Everything else is there, and I feel like a lot of people on the challenge should be paid a lot more money for the things they go through.
Yeah, because you're in a sense putting your life out there for them. You know what I mean? Like you're putting everything you have on the line. You know, you're gonna have to go home and not only have like the wounds of returning from filming a show, which I've heard is like a lot of people had culture shocks from
It's
doing.
bad.
It's very bad. Um,
Yeah, it's
I'm
very bad.
saying there should be some type of aftercare put in place, but you know, that's a different discussion. But
That's another story. There should be something there because me and Bay were traumatized after our first experience to realize that when we were in the bunker, we didn't have the same amenities that they had the season before us. I don't know if they were in a bunker the season after us, but if they weren't, we didn't have those same amenities. And then there's so much drama on the show just to be told that, like texting privately with some of these castmates, just for the show, come back next season, we're gonna be good. The girls that Bayleigh are fighting with, like the exact same girls, like if you go to YouTube and type Bayleigh versus whatever on the challenge, they're the same one DMing her saying, "Yo, like it was all for show. We're gonna be great friends next season. Let's just come in. But if anything, we can keep this going and make more money." It's all a money thing for people. So if it's all a money thing, like at least from what's going on, there should be some type of mental health thing that's there. I remember talking to Shy, who was on Team Mom, and she was saying that there was a challenge like before the finals that like they had to do something from a helicopter, do something, and then I don't know if this is public information or not. I hope it is. If it's not, then it's out there now. They tested the competition with like stunt dummies and the pilot, whatever, and the plane crashed and they all died. And they rushed all the contestants to the hotel and they were all crying, saying, "Yo, like I want to go home." Challenge wouldn't let them, and they did. I don't because I got told this story like 2 years ago. I don't know if they did the same challenge a few days later, or they did a different one. But I just know that I was told that, and that happened, and then nobody got like released home because it was like the final 9 or final 10 or something like that. So it's just like if that happens, there should be some type of aftercare mental health thing for all these challenges because there's a lot that goes on that the public doesn't know about.
that is unreal. Wow.
Yeah, and I hope that's out there because if it's not, then I'm going to be getting some text messages over the next few days. It is what it is, but that's that's what happened, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, especially like unfortunately, not only are you gonna not have aftercare, which should probably be there period when coming off of a reality show, the situation that you're coming off of was even worse because it was like a bunker type season, which watching in real time, it's uncanny how coincidental that was considering that aired like in the height of like lockdown in the real world, if you remember. That was like the height of when COVID was first happening, and
Yeah,
guys pretty much quarantined on screen. And the season was filmed like 5 months prior. How weird is that?
it was weird because I think it launched like April, the first week of April, and
April Fool's
I
Day.
lost to Corey, I think November 29th, I believe, and then Bayleigh got done with finals in December like 16th, 17th. So to know that that happened, when Bayleigh gets home and like it's kind of weird. I had like this hair, but then when Bayleigh gets home, it's cut, so I had like low hair, so she had to get used to me for the first time. I had to get used to her for like going through that shock of being in it because I wasn't at the finals. I didn't go up like the snow. I didn't do any of that she did. I didn't have to sleep outside like she did. So getting used to that. And then 2, 3 months later, there's like, oh, there's a whole lockdown, like March 21st or something like that. I forgot the exact date. It locked down. And then knowing that everything was locked down, it's like, yo, like we were just in a bunker to where like we couldn't leave, we couldn't go past a certain distance, we couldn't do it. It was just. I remember being on, and it's crazy. It's a lot more that goes on that people know about. But I remember that we were in the bunker, and I don't want to get too much into the story because this is definitely not public information. But I don't want to. I'm not calling this person out to call them out. I'm saying that um, we were so confined and locked in that it's crazy. Remember the second week of the challenge of Total Madness, something was going on with Josh, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was just like crying, just couldn't stop crying. He went outside, he went to like a little bit down, not the street, but in the backyard, and just sitting down crying. And I went outside, and I was just sitting with him and like consoling him and saying, "Oh, you're gonna be all right. It's all good." Which is why it confused me how we got to the place that to where he went through a drink on me. But this wasn't even recorded, no cameras or nothing. Yo, you good? Like everything's all good. And then security comes outside and starts yelling at us because we're past the line where we could be at, and we're a little farther than we should be. I'm like, yo, I don't care about no line, I don't care about no money. Like, this is a guy who's going through something, and all you care about is we're 5 feet away from the line, and you want to put no, like get the cameras out. I don't want to hear none of that. And so it from that point, it showed me that okay, we're confined into this box. Like, this is a box right here. We're confined into it. Can't leave it. And then we get to the real world. We're trying to navigate our way into the real world from being in that box. And 2 months later, we're back in the box and we can't leave our home again. It got hard for a lot of people who were in that bunker for the first time. A lot of us probably went through the same thing.
How is that sanctioned in the year 2020? Like, I can't even believe that in the current climate that they would opt to go in a route like that and putting you guys into a situation like that.
You're talking about the challenge. You're talking about just the real world.
Total madness.
Oh, we say this all the time. We talk about it all the time. Like the castmates, like the stuff they do is illegal. I don't care what nobody said. Like, it's illegal. Like, they got us doing there. They got us waiting 4 hours in the cold just for them to demonstrate something. Then waiting 4 hours in the cold. Then doing what we got to do. Then waiting 2 hours in the cold. Like, bro, like, when I think Corey went on, I saw it on TikTok. Corey went on the podcast and we talked about it. Like, we gotta get waking up in the morning and take a bus someplace and sit on that bus for an hour, then get taken off, and then sit outside for 4 hours while they demonstrate and get things ready, and then do it, and then sit outside for 2 more hours and get back home. And now we're starving, and then it's not food that we like, or take that exact same scenario, but before doing the challenge, oh, something messed up. We got to come back and do it all again tomorrow. And it's like, tomorrow, why would I do this? So
Yeah.
I don't know how I get sanctioned, bro. Every single year that they show me, or like, it's just more and more illegal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I gotta ask you now, since we're basically almost pretty much an exact 2 years since this first occurred, was the whole situation with D, and you were obviously heavily involved when that first occurred. I want to know, like, maybe your thoughts on maybe how it was handled, both maybe her situation and then from afar, maybe MTV's handling of just the movement as a whole.
Yeah. So I think that so the situation with D was a very crazy situation, and people have to understand this. She was saying this in the midst of, everything going on with George Floyd and the protests, so it was really, really heightened. I do think it was handled correctly. My only issue and Bayleigh's only issue was we did not. First of all, we didn't want D to get banned at all. Nobody knows that. Second of all, if she did get banned, we did not want her to get banned for life. Like, if you want to say what the challenge does normally with these with Paulie Califieri and some of these people is like, oh, well, take a season off and we'll bring you back the next 1 or 2 seasons from now. With D, I felt like they could have banned her for 36 and 37 and then come back to 38. So I do think that I do regret some of the things I tweet. Like, I was very, very upset because, like, I'm obviously black, Bayleigh's black, and we just watched another black man get killed unarmed and unjustly, and we watched that happen. And D's on Twitter talking about I'm Black Lives Matter because I have sex with black people, and she was making a joke of it. So I was very, very upset. So me blasting her, I'm cool with, but me saying stuff like, her mom doesn't know that she's on TV, and she tells her mom she's a marketer and she's living a double life, and that stuff I'm not proud of. I'm not happy of whatsoever. I do regret, like, that type of stuff, and I really, really do, or I really wish that she only got suspended so that she could be on now, because she was a great challenger. She was, believe it or not, which effed us up, was the first half of the season, D was me and Bayleigh's best friend. Like, she was aside from, like, Fessy, obviously, and Big Brother and stuff, but D was like her closest friend. So we always, like, genuinely cared about her well-being, and then when that situation happened, it just exploded. But it should have been a suspension, maybe 2 or something, just so she can realize what she's saying is not a joke, and then come back, and so she can have a renewed energy and, like, a newfound life. Like, okay, I see what life is like when I'm not on the challenge. I see, like, how my words affected people. Now I'm back and I'm a different person now. So
Right, like, it's obviously really not my place to say, but like an immediate ban without, like, kind of first off, like, educating the person who actually said this stuff is not,
yeah,
like, it's not one, stopping that person from doing it again, but two, also setting what I feel would be a proper precedent just for the future in general. Because say if someone does, like, something much worse than what D did, for example, then
Correct.
facing the same punishment, then what you're kind of saying is these are the same things. You know what I mean? Like if someone were to go on Twitter and like a cast member and call someone the N-word, that's obviously much different than what, D said. But if
Correct.
you're facing the same punishments, then you're kind of saying like, all right, this is the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they kind of already like they already kind of messed it up. People didn't really notice this too much. They did notice it, I guess, but like they took Jordan off because of
Yeah.
what he did with I forgot. I guess I didn't watch. What was that's his name? Nia or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took him off, and then 2 years later, a year and a half later, like, oh, we want you back for All Star. We want you back for this, but they're not doing the same thing with D. And it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, and people got to understand, people grow. Like Jordan has talked to Nia. Jordan is literally one of my best friends from the show.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, like the closest person I still talk to this day, almost every single week. He's an inspiration for actually heading over to Ukraine during everything that's going on. I'm very, very proud of him, but it sets a precedent, like you said, where like they act out. They don't even teach D on what's actually going on, and then they just kicked her off, and that was a huge issue because they just said, "All right, you're gone," but now she doesn't. She just knows that she got kicked off for saying this, but she doesn't know why it's hurtful during these times and X, Y, and Z, and that's an issue. Even I think Wes kind of called it. I guess like the Wes is one of my good friends as well, but like when I tweeted all of that, Wes literally called me like 10 times, like, "Yo, take all this down. D's gonna get kicked off." And I said, bro, like I'm not taking him down. And the reason I didn't take it down, and I don't know if I even told Wes. I probably told Wes this, or I said is if you would have called me saying, "I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry for how this makes you feel about George Floyd, blah, blah, blah. But if you really think about it, like this may happen with D," I would have been more sympathetic. But he called me more worried about D than he was the situation, because D was obviously his protege. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, I'm not taking these down. But yeah, I really wish like people would have educated D on what happened before or afterwards.
Yeah, and another thing, on the staying on the same topic is this with the punishment that like D faced, and then like obviously like in my honest opinion, obviously, depending on who you ask, the Jordan thing was obviously something from like years back that had been like settled and resolved, you know what I mean? Just wanted to preface that. But with that,
Exactly.
it's almost like setting like or opening up rather a different can of worms by then to the casual viewer they're going to see, oh well, this is a woman who happens to be a minority in her own right, and she's getting axed completely, but here's a white man, but we're only putting him on like ban. Now I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't have been banned, you know what I mean?
Correct. I'm
to
just
the
going off what
casual
happened.
but to the casual eye, that's what it's going to be looked like as.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I still have not talked to D since the situation happened. But if MTV is watching this, I really hope they reconsider letting her back on. Only because even though we've never talked to her, we've forgiven her months after, because it wasn't like she did something to me or Bayleigh. We were just representing Black people in general, and I guess we were the face of it. But it wasn't like she personally attacked me or Bayleigh. So it like you said, to the viewer, it does sound kind of crazy because D is a minority, like she most definitely is. Doesn't give her the right to say certain things, doesn't give me the right to say certain things, but at the same time, I don't think people should be banned for life for a 25, 40-year period when they messed up. Everybody messes up. Make sure she learned from it. Put her through a psych evaluation like you put everybody through, and you feel like she's good, then yeah, for sure, bring it back. I feel like what she did, it's not like she killed, again, what she said was not good enough, but she's been banned for 2, 3 years now. Fine, but it's one like she killed George Floyd, where it's like, okay, you got to be locked away for actual life. You know what I mean? Even the guy who killed George Floyd is not even locked. He's doing a 15-year bid. You know what I mean? So it's like eventually he's going to walk the earth again. So D is not going to walk the challenge again. So I just hope that gets rethought, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good place to close that topic. But I do want to talk a little bit about you now, man. So I would ask, what you've been up to, but I don't know if that would be where it starts or where it ends for you. So
Yeah.
find the happy medium here. Let's talk about Swag Academy. Could you kind of walk me and my viewers through what exactly Swag Academy is?
Yeah, the Swag Academy is an online educational course that teaches people how to trade because I've been trading for the last 8 years. It also teaches people a little bit about investing for the time being because I'm more of now I'm a trader and investor. But when I started the Swag Academy, I was just a pure trader. So it just kind of teaches people exactly how to actually do that. I trade with them. I teach them a lot from top to bottom for beginners, intermediate, advanced people. And now I'm kind of I have teachers and mentors in place to kind of help run that. And now I'm launching I think two other businesses this year. One a SaaS company, software as a service company, and another that is it's 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 uh it's another software. They're both software technology data companies, but they have to deal with trading and investing as a whole, but more so with finance in general, like when it comes to credit and budgeting and everything else in general. So that's the Swag Academy. That's what I've been running for the last 3 years and trading on my own. And now I'm launching two other businesses, one in August, the other in November, that I'm probably 30 times more excited about than the Swag Academy.
And you found trading while you were in college, right?
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I was watching a battle rap, and before the YouTube was an ad that came on. And for some reason, like you know how we always just skip the ad real quick.
Right.
Always. For some reason, I didn't skip it. For some reason, like the guy said something in the first 5 seconds that did not make me want to skip the ad. So I just watched it the whole way through. Watched it 3 minutes. Clicked this free seminar. It was a 2 hour seminar. I watched it that night. Sent it to my brother. And ever since then, I've been kind of locked into this entrepreneurial business mindset, which caused me to drop out of college my junior year. You know what I mean? And led me down this path.
Yeah, so I've noticed this too with like entrepreneurial life. I've noticed like you almost take on like a bit of like a artist role, you know, like you put your work out, you do your work, and it's always like go. That's your only command is just go. You don't like focus on like what has happened or like what's currently happening. It's always like what's next or what's going to be next. And that's something like I've noticed with you too. Like you're very
Yeah.
focused on like what's going to be next, like what's not currently happening or what has already happened. Is that kind of always how you've been wired, do you feel?
Um. Yeah. Right now with business, when it came to like TV, I was never worried about what's next. I was worried about what's now, and let's maximize Big Brother now. Let's maximize the channel. I was worried. I was focused on that. But with business, and even before TV, like with college, I was always worried about what's next. I was a babysitter. I dropped out of college to be a babysitter and use that money to start trading with. But then now with business, I'm always focused on what's next, which is an issue because Bayleigh will see all this money coming in, and she's like, "Can we just relax?" I'm just like, "No, there's no time to relax." Now I got my mom, my brother, who they like both retired. I got this person, this family member. Like and people don't know I'm paying all these family members' bills. I gave out over probably $1 million to family members, old friends who needed bad situations, charities, just churches, just donating stuff because a single mother is writing me saying, "Oh, like my car broke down. I walk to work every single day, and I'm just hustling through, and I hope God's gonna give me a blessing." And I see that on Twitter, and people will know that I've done this so many times on Twitter where people will tweet me or tweet that, and it's like, "Oh, all you need is $5,000 to like take care of rent for the next 6 months. What is $5,000 to me? Here, take it. You're a single mother. You need a car. Okay, is this car good enough? It's only $14,000. It's a Nissan Sentra. Is that good?" To them, it's the world. So for me, I did that all through 2020. But I'm always focused on what's next, what's next, what's next, and basically like we got to focus on now. So I've done a terrible job at focusing on now. Like I talked about, like what's now. That's why I'm focused on August and November, my two other businesses. You know what I mean? I was in Texas focusing on Puerto Rico because I knew this was coming. So it's just I don't know. I take it as a good thing.
Have you ever hit like those curves? Because I think like entrepreneurs and content creators alike, they find themselves like almost like engulfed with like the idea of numbers and statistics and analytics, and then you always put yourself on like this kind of like limit of like, well, I'm here. Well, how do I get to here? Why am I not here? Why are my numbers like this one week and then not like
No
that?
idea, man.
Uh, has that been something that's weighed on you at all?
Yeah, that's the biggest stress that I had over the last 2 years. It was like I'm a very analytical guy, so I'm checking Stripe or I'm checking my payment processes. I'm looking at certain things. I'm just like, why is the money different, or why this student liked my course and now doesn't like it, or why this person hated who I was on TV, but now is in love with me and in love with my program. It's like everything is just so up and down on both ends, and it's just like it weighs on me a lot. Where it's like why are things different, you know? Like, and what messed me up last year, like in 2020, when things were going all smooth, I made close to, let's say, I made close to 5 million, right? So I'm just like, okay, this is going to be consistent for the next few years. Then 2021, when I took like a break and I went to like the UFC events, and I was kind of relaxing. We only did like 2 point something. I'm just like, yo, there's no way I'm doing. I just did half of what I did last year. Like, why? I'm analyzing every single chart. I'm analyzing my own trades. I'm analyzing my YouTube. I'm analyzing everything. Like what? Like I'm talking like I literally would go to Mexico to a resort called Grand Bayleigh for like 2 weeks and just sit there by myself, or me and Bayleigh by ourselves, not explore the island, but just get away from all the noise and just look at everything, all these sheets, all these analytics, our YouTube, everything was like, what changed? What's going on? Oh, you took more vacation this year. Oh, you spent 130,000 going to sit in front row at a UFC event that was just a one night thing. And there's a reason why all these numbers kind of doing you. Like 2020, you were so focused and locked in. 2021, not so much, which is why this year, I'm happy to say that we probably quadrupled what we did in 20. Well, we're going to, by the end of the year, quadruple what we did in 2020 because I'm more focused. But that's not to say that next year is going to be the same. Like I'm constantly worried about the future. I have a kid that's going to come soon, and I have high expectations for what her life or what her, well, it's her life is going to be like. So it's just I don't know. It's just a lot, you know.
No, I've been kind of prioritizing, decompression recently, because I've noticed that with myself as well. It's you kind of lose yourself in a way when you're so focused on your craft. You don't like prioritize like your own health at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
How does that work for you?
What do you mean?
Like when you decompress, do you feel like my life is better and like even though I'm decompressing from what I love to do, this decompression is helping me do what I need to do. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like antsy, like I got to get back?
There's a certain level of ants, obviously, that exists. Like it's not going to just go away after you've been like doing something for so long. But at the same time, I've noticed like with taking the decompression, I'm able to like perform functions in my normal life than I wouldn't had I be like fully invested into like my craft and what I'm doing right along. You know what I mean?
Really? Yeah, I gotta look into that because I've been talking to Zach Rance and he's like a real big on mental health and Caitlin Herman tells me all the time you gotta relax and it does mess with me sometimes when I'm up for 3 days straight no sleep and then like I just crash the fourth day and people talk about my health I still like work out and play basketball like I should but like I'm probably eating once or twice a day, if that, because I'm so focused and locked in. I don't take coffee, but I'm not sleeping how I should be. So I really want to prioritize mental health and focus. And Puerto Rico has done wonders. I said wonders on me mentally and how peaceful I am. I can't say enough great things about this place. So I guess this is the start to me really decompressing because even though I'm still like working, I'm not as stressed as I was in Los Angeles.
I've noticed that too. Like I don't obviously can't attest to like what Puerto Rico is like, but I know just from like seeing LA is obviously very loud. Like I use the expression loud. Like I know that with New York. I just took a vacation the last 2 weeks myself. I'm back this week. Um, New York's very loud. LA loud. So I think like the location change and going from like somewhere that's considered loud to like somewhere where it's like more quiet and like you know kind of mellow is a big focal point in helping change maybe your mental state as well. Like I say that travel changes people or heals people. I know that's an expression.
Yeah. It's interesting how that works because when we were in Mexico, we realized we got the same amount of work done. Mind you, in LA, we had like two huge penthouses, and then in Mexico, we have this small, one bedroom on this resort. We got the same work done with a tenth of the space and way more peace than we had in LA. Like we don't need all the stuff that we're like that we have in LA. Like we don't need any of that stuff. We don't and that's what made us realize that okay, we got to prioritize where we're at because LA is loud. Every single night there's sirens and there's this and there's and New York. I'm from New York. I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut, but it's like right 20 minutes from New York. Like I'm from a loud area, so coming to New York, not New York, coming to Puerto Rico, it was like okay, like Wow, I'm really extremely peaceful. Every single day I wake up, I'm blessed, I'm peaceful. A lot of the materialistic things that I cared about in 2020, I don't know more. I rarely wear any of my chains. The two Teslas that I got, they're still in Los Angeles. I let my friends use them because I got like a Ford Explorer just driving around Puerto Rico. Like a lot of the things that I cared about, when you're in a peaceful environment and your mental health feels a lot better, you just stop caring about all the things that gave you so much stress. Like I don't have an image to uphold. I don't care. I really care that I have this right now? Do I really care that I'm no, I don't. So my mental health for sure has gotten better because I traveled to Puerto Rico, and that I don't think I would ever came to this realization if I didn't feel that I could get the same work done in Mexico with 10 times more peace.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad that you brought up, growing up near this area because one documented fact from doing a deep dive on you is you actually did spend some time on the St. Peter's basketball team. You're a peacock, sir.
Yeah, man. Peacocks, man. I went to the game when they played UNC. And obviously we lost that game. We beat Purdue and beat Kentucky and them. But nah, St. Peter's is definitely home for me.
Was basketball your first love?
Yeah, so basketball was my first. I didn't start playing basketball until I was 14 because we had an NBA coach, not coach, NBA player retire from the NBA and then come back to our city to coach us because he played at that school. So basketball was like a big thing. People don't know I was a baseball player growing up. I loved baseball. I was a center fielder. I was all Patriot, all state, basically in terms of baseball. I was nasty, but we were 0-15. Like we sucked. And then all the girls, all the teachers, everybody's at all these basketball games. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna learn basketball. So I spent like a summer learning basketball. Sophomore year I was better, but still on JV. Junior year I was better. I was on varsity, but I wasn't as good. And senior year I averaged 15 points a game, and I was good. Went to a D3 school, transferred to a D1 school, and the competition was just so amazing. Getting to St. Peter's, everybody was the best at their school, but it was there that helped me get to where I am right now. Like when I got to St. Peter's and I wasn't playing, but I was like, I was in all the practices, got all the uniforms, I did all the travel, but I wasn't playing. I realized that okay, I may not have a career. I could go overseas if I wanted to, but I may not have a career like making good money overseas like I envisioned. So I got to figure something else out, which is why I ended up listening to that ad because like those 5 seconds. Do you want to make money or something like that? It clicked in my mind. But I'm seeing I'm not playing, and then there's somebody who's averaging 25 points per game going overseas, but making 72K or 60K a year. I'm just like, okay, like if he's the best player on the team, what am I going to do? But I love St. Peter's, love my time there. I love Jersey City, and that will forever be home for me.
So you realized, your passion for day trading while you're at St. Peter's, or was it Richmond?
It was at St. Peter's for sure. It was at St. Peter's. Yeah, it was at St. Peter's. I once practiced in. I like when I first got there to practice because I was like trying to play for a spot. After every practice, I was there. I would get the gun out, start shooting on the shooting gun. I was there for 2 hours. Well, damn near almost out there every practice, as were the other players. But once I realized that I wasn't playing, every single practice, the very minute it ended, I went down, I showered, went to the cafeteria, got my food, went back to the crib, and studied day trading for like till like 2, 3 in the morning. And once we lost in the playoffs, I talked about this on my YouTube channel. We lost in the playoffs on the 6th, and then in like March. On March 10th, I made like $2,000 day trading in my college dorm. The very first like week that I had with no stress from basketball, I had all the free time in the world to study. I made 2,000. At that moment, I said, "Oh, I'm dropping out. I'm going to focus on this full time. And if it doesn't work out, I can easily come back for my last year. But right now, I got to go chase this."
People don't realize to a college student like how much money that is, though.
Bro, I
Like
really
that.
felt like I won the lottery, bro. Like I felt, you gotta understand, like I talk about this as well. I literally had like $2 in my bank account. Like I couldn't afford. I remember going to the gas station and they had a Pop Tart for like 99 cents and a drink for like 99 cents. But with tax, it was like 217, and I only had like 197 in my account. So I really had to decide between Pop Tart or some water. You know what I mean? And I ended up getting the Pop Tart, and then one of my friends had a water. I never told people like the things they struggle with. But then making 2,000, bro, I really felt like I hit the lottery. Which is why it was such an easy decision for me to be like, all right, I'm gone, I'm gonna focus on this full time. But that is so much money for a college student.
And that's why, like, I appreciate like anytime like you have like an accomplishment, like, you're loud and proud about like what you accomplished, but you work for it, right? Like obviously, you're gonna have your naysayers out there. They're gonna be like, oh, this guy's full of himself and stuff like that. But like I'm a full believer in that if you work for it and you do the work and you accomplish something, like flaunt it if you got it. You know what I mean?
I actually feel like 2020, I actually did that because I can talk about I had that chip on my shoulder from Total Madness and this and that. I feel like I've been chilling. Like you look at my social media, it's been nothing but me and Bayleigh pregnancy
Positive,
pictures.
yeah.
Before that, it's been like clips of me and my podcast just talking and giving advice. I rarely post anything, flexing or flaunting. I don't like I said, the two cars like I don't like they're still in LA. I'm letting my brothers and them take them. I'm chilling. Like yeah, we got a pretty big place in Puerto Rico, but for the most part, I do believe what you're saying. Like if you have it, like you can say whatever you want. But I really feel like I give way more value than what the normal average fan may see from me. They just see he's acting larger than life, but they read the caption, they see what I'm actually saying. I'm really trying to give value because when I was coming up, that's all I saw. I just saw value from these people that I looked up to. So I feel like I'd be chilling right nowadays.
Hmm. This will be a final question now, and this will be probably the hardest question so far.
I'll take it.
So, at one point, did you kind of see, like, because first off, let me preface by saying, like, I have so much appreciation for the way that you and Bayleigh ride for each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I feel like everybody should strive in a
I
relationship.
appreciate it, my man.
So, this is where my question will be. At what point did you first realize, like, I think I kind of like her. Like, this is for me.
Day 6 in the Big Brother house. No. I lied. Day 11 in the Big. Actually, that was actually worse. Day 11 in the Big Brother house was when I realized that because when people go back in time and actually see, Bayleigh was the first person I met inside the house. The minute I walked in, Bayleigh was the first person at the door, first person I hugged, first person I said my name to. And when I won the first challenge that same day against Angela, then I was like, especially I'm 27 now, so I'm much more mature. But at 23, I was wrecked. I was coming in the house like acting like I'm the shit and stuff. Bayleigh pulled me to. It's on camera. She was like, "Hey, like you're a fellow African American. I'm looking out for you. Like you're coming off strong. Just kind of chill." So I looked at her as like, okay, she's clearly looking out for me. She's clearly my friend. And then when this wasn't aired, but when Tyler won the actual first HOH, him and Bayleigh was kind of going back and forth about because I think Tyler put like a ball in Bailey's bin, which almost got her out. It was going back and forth. So after that, I pulled her to the side. I was like, "Yo, like I don't think Tyler and them really rocking with you from that little altercation, whatever." And then by days, what people don't know is me and Fessy were sleeping together in the same bed. 2'6'4", he's 6'5", people sleeping together in the same bed. And Rachel and Casey were sleeping together, and Bayleigh and Caitlin were sleeping together. So we switched it to where I'm sleeping with Bayleigh because we were obviously close. Fessy was sleeping with Caitlin, and then Casey with whoever, I think it was Rachel, whoever it was, whatever. And then when we were sleeping together, I don't know how this happened, but we at 2 o'clock in the morning we just kissed, I guess, and we're kissing. Then after that, once we kissed, the first day I was upset with myself because I was like, okay, I really need this money. I need to make sure that I'm focused. I'm pretty sure she's focused on the same thing. It was an accident, boom, boom. But the next day I saw her, every time I looked at her, I was just like, wow, like I like you more and more and more. And it wasn't until day 11 until I realized that I actually like love you and actually like want to pursue this outside of the show. And then I obviously got eliminated to day 23, but day 11 was when I actually with my girlfriend. And then days later, I realized I fell in love.
Did you feel like there were hurdles like maintaining like such a public relationship, or do you feel like if you love someone like that ultimately trumps any public relationship problem?
Yeah, there were first of all there were hurdles in the show because we had to keep it quiet, and then once as a last ditch effort, because I got backdoored to like sway some votes, we started telling certain people that we're together so they can feel sorry for us. I still got sent home, but then Bayleigh going through the miscarriage and like, navigating that together, we knew people don't understand why I proposed after being out for 23 days, even though I knew she was pregnant. I knew she went through the miscarriage. She went through that by herself. And then going into the real world, I do feel like the love I mean, I don't know if all love trumps all, but our love does. You know, we got questioned by, you know, her own family saying like, is this even going to work? Can I provide for her? Questioned by the media, are they, like they only know each other for 23 days. They're only going to last for 2 years, 1 year tops. Like, but me and Bayleigh made it a priority to make sure we last because we actually loved each other. We never said to each other, we're going to make it last to rub it in everybody's faces. We said we actually loved each other, and the day that we stop loving each other, then we'll stop being together. We haven't stopped or come close to it at all. So I do think that love trumps all, no matter if you're in the public eye or not. You just got to kind of find a balance on navigating that, because there will be some disagreements or arguments or X, Y, and Z on what somebody said, whether it's us two or something that was said in the public and we disagree on, like, you know what I mean? But no matter what, I do think love trumps all. I think the ones that don't last, their love didn't trump all, or they couldn't get over a certain barrier. I feel like there's barriers along the relationship that is like heightened and very, very important, and if they broke up, they couldn't get over something crazy. So
Right. Not everybody can do it, but you guys have done a very good job of navigating that. And I want to thank you again for taking kind of your busy schedule to come on here and chat with me. I had such a fun time chatting, dude. I'm
nah,
stoked all the great stuff you.
Nah, me too, bro. I'm chilling in Puerto Rico, man. Even though I'm busy, like I feel I'm like I'm in PR. I'm here to just relax. I'm not here to be stressed out every day and work every single day. So I can do like obviously podcasts like yours. Like we've been talking about it for a very long time, and you probably won't see me do another podcast for another minute. You know what I mean? Just depends, but I don't know, I'm very selective, but I feel like you do a good job at doing what you're doing right now. So I have no problem, you know, spending time with you, bro.
Thanks so much, man. I'm going to keep following what you do from afar. And thanks again, man. Have a great
No
rest of
problem.